Today I'm going to be talking about how to start out as a filmmaker and how you can make filmmaking a full-time career. Life is short. You don't want to spend most of your life doing something you don't love doing. So today I'm going to be talking about how you can turn your passion into something that can be sustainable long-term, to be able to have a family, be able to pay rent. And today we're going to be going step by step, as someone who just started very first day to someone who wants to break into the industry. Recently, I started a podcast called the First Act Break Podcast, where we talk about those topics with people who are already in the industry. If you guys like to check that out, check it out in the description below. In this video, I'm going to be using a lot of the insight I learned from these professionals and a lot of the things I learned interning and going to USC Film School. So you just started out, you just found your passion about filmmaking. Number one thing you gotta do is just watch a lot of YouTube videos on how to make movies. I think it's good to have a good grasp about the basic techniques and fundamentals of what it takes to make a movie, right? There's good channels like Film Riot, Danny Gevirtz, Studio Binder, In-Depth Cine, maybe this channel. Tons of channels out there to just watch these videos, and I think most people start off doing that, at least people around me at USC Film School. You don't have to go and take classes to learn how to start making movies. And after you watch a lot of these videos, you have a basic understanding of how it works, then you can start using your iPhone and you should make some stuff. Make some little short films, little skits with your friends, very basic stuff just with your phone, nothing crazy. I think there's two paths actually of becoming a professional filmmaker. One is you find a high-paying job like Wall Street, being a doctor or lawyer, and use that to fund your films in the future, or have your family fund them in the future. Or two is to go down the filmmaking path. That is the path that to do filmmaking full-time to take, right? So after making your first few little shorts with your iPhone, you want to like edit them on CapCut, maybe iMovie, whatever you edit them with. And then after that, it's the stage of practice. You want to practice all aspects of filmmaking. And to know where you're going direction-wise, I think it's really important to read some books on certain topics like cinematography, directing, or screenwriting, right? You want to practice writing a lot. I think writing is like going to the gym. You gotta keep using that muscle, write a lot of scripts, read your favorite scripts, you know? And then practice shooting, you know, shoot random things, whatever you think is beautiful. Practice framing, how you're gonna light your subject. Just try it out with your phone. Practice directing. You're gonna find, you know, your friends and try running lines with them. Try giving them dialogue and blocking a scene, right? And then editing, taking all the things you shoot and playing around with iMovie, playing around with these features and figure out what goes together, what cuts together, right? And at this point, while you're practicing, it's good to start making more little independent short films, you know, things with contained stories, you write more, and maybe you can start investing in some equipment, you know, having dedicated filmmaking camera. There's a lot of cameras. I made a video here if you want to check that out. Get maybe some microphone, maybe a light, maybe some other software like Final Cut or DaVinci Resolve. I use personally DaVinci Resolve. I think it's the best thing ever. And after that, show these films to your friends. It might be scary at first, but it's important to have feedback, to get more eyes and more minds, you know, on helping you develop your scripts to the best of its ability. Be open to that, you know, and you don't have to take their advice because, you know, sometimes they could be wrong, but it's important to, you know, get what other people think of your work, so then you have a gauge of how you can improve in the future. And then also, I think it's important then to start connecting with like-minded filmmakers. You know, having a community is one of the best things ever. You can do it go to film festivals or film clubs or film classes. You know, find people in your neighborhood even to make movies with. You know, it's important to not only do it solo, because filmmaking is the ultimate team sport, I think, and you have to be able to work with other people and find your people. And then keep practicing the skills I already talked about earlier. Just repetition, right? And this is gonna take a few years of just keep doing it over and over again. Keep making short films, like 3-minute films, right? Tell a story in 3 minutes without dialogue. It's hard, but it trains your muscle. Doing things efficiently, doing it yourself like a one-man band, that's gonna help a lot in the future when you get into the bigger stuff. And then at this point, you wanna level up more other niche things Like sound design, like when you're editing a film, learn how to use sound effects, use music. Where do you put music in a score, right? Learn how to use things to heighten the tension if it's a horror film, or make it more romantic, right? Learn color grading. If you start investing in a camera, learn how to make it fix the exposure in post, right? I think post is huge. Also learn how to production design. Your cinematography looks as good as the set itself, the location. If you can dress the location up, that's gonna be amazing for the look of it. And then you want to keep leveling up your screenwriting. You should read other scripts. You should watch more videos on screenwriting where YouTubers break down movies and script structure. Learn about what it takes to build like the fundamentals of storytelling. What are the structures of it? And because just if you're starting out, it's important to know what's been working for decades, right? And then keep making more movies. That's should be the common theme of this movie. Just keep making stuff. I've talked to people who's been in the industry for decades, talked to people who are my level or a little bit ahead of me. And that's the common thing they tell me is never give up and keep making stuff consistently, because that's how you improve, really. And then now I think it's important to kind of dive into other mediums of the art, right? Making not just narrative short films, but maybe making like documentaries, because they're a very different set of skills that sort of overlaps, but it can help you with your career. It's just making documentaries, also making commercials. That's how you get paid in the future, right? Learn how to tell a story in 30 seconds, how to showcase something like a product, making spec ads. And you can, check out other spec ads on YouTube. And then also shooting like wedding stuff, learning how to showcase real life things. I think it's quite important to be, very present with the moment and bring the human emotions out. And I think it's so important to be traveling, to get more perspectives on the world, on other people, on life, because that's what filmmaking is. You're telling stories of life, of humans. So to not just be confined to your own bubble of where you grew up, but also to see what other people are like, to be open-minded and making travel movies. I think that is really helpful. But also go back to making narrative short films if that's what you want to do. It's so important to continue getting the reps in. And then next, you want to starting to submit your works. And this should be a few years after you started making movies for the first time. Start submitting them to film festivals. I have a video on how to submit to film festivals here and how to get in them. But really try to, when you think your story is at a point where you want to build an audience, start submitting them to your local film fest, right? Maybe there's a lot of beginner film festivals. I can make a video on best film festivals to submit as college students or beginner filmmakers later, but go on Film Freeway, make an account, and start browsing them. But it's also important to know that when you do get rejected from these festivals, as every filmmaker does, no, it's not personal. It's not you. It's not your film, really. It's a lot about the festival and what they're trying to program. So don't feel discouraged when you get a rejection letter from these festivals. And now I think it's also important, if you're on the younger side, to consider, are you going to be going to film school? Film school might not be for everyone, but personally, film school has changed my life for the better, has brought me a community of some of the best people in the film industry, and has matured me as a storyteller. So if that's something you're interested in, check out this video of how to get into USC Film School. But now that you are potentially at film school, or even not, you want to find a mentor. You want to find someone that's years ahead in the industry to give you some guidance. Because if your family isn't in the business of filmmaking, because mine were not, it's important to find people who are, to kind of show you a path. And whether it is from, just emailing someone that you admire, or your professors at college who has been doing it, it's important to find someone like that. Or even if your mom knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy, then, it's important to reach out and not be afraid of that. And now that you've been making a lot of your own movies, I think it's important to step onto more other people's film sets, like more professional film sets or even college film sets, because there are so many roles on a film set, and you gotta learn how each role interacts with each other. If you wanna be a director, you gotta know the whole hierarchy and know everyone. Like, what is a gaffer, a grip, best boy, RPA, art director, production designer? All these roles are so important. Go on these sets and learn about it. Try out different roles. Maybe you want to do more camera stuff. Do second AC first and then do first AC. and then maybe some lighting, you want to do some gripping. And that's a great place to build that community I was talking about earlier, because on a film set, you're working 12-hour days with these people for multiple days, and you really build a community with them. And at the end of the day, you can ask all of them for their Instagram and you can build your network of people. And if you live in a place where there isn't really many film sets, that's okay. I mean, I think it's also like, I grew up in Wyoming. There was no film sets anywhere near me. At least I didn't hear of any. Feel free to try to be able to travel to nearby places to go on these film sets. That's why I think film school is so important for me. I was able to be in a place in LA where everyone's making movies. But also at the meantime, you know what I'm gonna say next? Keep making your own stuff. Really be writing your next project, be thinking about what you're gonna be doing. Just really be working on and keep practicing. And then this is the next stage where you're trying to actually get into the industry. So there's a few paths of breaking into the professional industry and getting paid. Number one is interning at a studio. So studios like Universal or Paramount, they have these things called the Page program that you can apply to. It's hard to get in, but if you can get in, that's the very entry job of a big studio. And once you're in there, you can get promoted to assistant, and then you work your way up the corporate ladder at a studio. And that's one way. Another way it's also really good is being in the mailroom of a talent agency, working your way up like CA, UTA, WME. You basically know everyone in the industry. This is being an agency, that's the ultimate networking secret. They know everyone. But however, both of these things are very corporate and office job. I don't know, a lot of filmmakers, that's not what you want to do, and that's okay. But if you do want to do it, it's an amazing opportunity. You're gonna work your way up as an assistant. You might be assisting, an agent, right? And then if you can become an agent, if or not, you can be assisting other directors potentially, right? And there's so many layers in an agency, different jobs that you can be working in. It is a great place to really build that community of people. Or you can climb the movie set ladder, right? You can be a PA and you work your way up a movie set and DPing and becoming a freelance DP. Freelance is risky, but once you do it properly and have the right network and skills, it's one of the best things ever as someone young and ambitious, because, well, I mean, what do you have to lose, right? You gotta work for yourself and make a living. But it's also really important to understand the finances, be saving, understanding, not spending money, because sometimes you can get a ton of jobs one month, but next month you don't really get a lot of jobs. And if you guys want to know more about post-production stuff, they make tons of money because they're so in demand. Being an editor, colorist, sound designer, they really be making the bank, and they're almost guaranteed to be employed. Being a director is a little tough, but if that's your passion, really try to work at it. Be working, and as a director, you gotta be writing. I think writing is so important for directors. So write, the next feature film, write a pilot, right? Be constantly writing things to understand storytelling, and having a co-writer is also very helpful when it comes to that. And then also continue making your own films and submitting to festivals, getting into bigger and bigger festivals to network even more. And I think another common theme is your network is your net worth, right? You need to build a huge community around you. It is better to have 5,000 people to believe in you than getting to Sundance. And that's true, because your goal is to have this community. And recently there's been a new way that people has been able to build this community, and that's through social media, be having YouTube videos or channels and podcasts, different platforms. That's how people are able to have a community, and I think it's so valuable. And I hope to be able to provide a community for you guys on my channel of people who are just getting into the industry. I think that's why I do these videos, and just helping people find like-minded filmmakers. And yeah, I hope you guys feel a little more clear in the direction you're headed as a filmmaker. And check out the podcast. It has really tons of insights from people that are ahead of me in their career. Also, if you guys want to know some of the best books to be reading to improve your skills, then check out this video right here, and I'll see you guys there. Peace out.